All right, Mike. Well, thanks for sharing your thoughts on Cyberpunk 2077. Before we
Yeah, man.
wrap up, do you have any final thoughts, Tim? It's good to have you back. How about you?
Yeah, I mean, it's been a pretty good episode. I mean, I think Assassin's Creed Mirage especially on MetaQuest 3, it looks pretty sweet. Honestly, I'm looking forward to it. Really hoping it comes to PSVR too. But we'll see.
See.
All right. Well, that's a wrap.
Tell your mama said hi.
All right, so for everybody else, that was our little gag for our audio listeners. For those of you who are joining us on Twitch are probably confused as fuck, but that's okay. That'll sound really funny in the edit. I can't wait to hear it.
Yep.
Tim, you're back. How you been, man? It's been like 3 fucking weeks.
Something like that. I'm without a beard this time.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, shit's been just happening. You can see the games are no longer behind me. We've talked about me moving. It was supposed to be Monday, but now it's going to be Friday, and that's kind of a relief. Kind of wish it was Monday, but it's nice having it Friday because I have more time to get ready. So, yeah.
That's good. Well, I'm happy you're back. This is our first 3-man podcast. Mike, I hope you're up for the edit on this, because that sync at the beginning, I'm not going to lie, was pretty trash.
Yeah, dude.
All right.
Be great
like,
I mean,
it was like a whole half to a full second behind us.
It was a bit. Well, for those of you joining us on Twitch, thanks for watching. For those of you watching on YouTube, awesome. And for audio listeners, let's go ahead and jump right into this. This is episode 24. I can't believe we have done 24 of these and still nobody is listening to us. But I guess that's just our luck, right?
It's because of you.
It's definitely
your face.
my fault.
That's why.
Yeah,
You have a face for radio.
I sure do, buddy. You better believe it. So I want to talk about Ashes of Creation. Tim, you are just as interested in this game as I am. I think we're both very invested in this game and very eager to see it release if it ever does. It's kind of like, for those of you not familiar with Ashes of Creation, I would say it's almost the Star Citizen set in a fantasy world in terms of like development hell and reiterations and stuff like that. Maybe not quite as bad as Star Citizen, but it did start as a Kickstarter game. It was funded very quickly.
I would say it's worse than Star Citizen.
You think
Star Citizen has a product you can play.
Strix is here. He says, I'm development hell. You're damn right, buddy.
I feel like Star Citizen is like the OG NFT game, though, because like people literally paid $40,000 for a JPEG of a ship that they might get one day.
Yeah.
Speaking of NFTs, did you guys see that like 90, I think it's 95% or something like that of all NFTs are worth shit now? Like absolutely fucking nothing.
They had like a
thank
huge
God
market
it
crash
failed.
or something.
Yeah, like literally they're completely fucking useless now. So
what?
That's
no
good
way. Oh my God. I'm
right?
shocked. Fucking. Anyways, so Ashes of Creation, they just announced actually yesterday. I think it was yesterday. It was either yesterday or a few days before. They did a live stream yesterday, developer update. That's one thing about the guys at Ashes of Creation, Steve and Sharif, that I love. I met them in 2016, played the game at PAX in 2016, and even the small chunk that they built for us to play at the time. Strix chimed in here. He paid $39,000 for his javelin, and they're
Jesus
delivering
Christ.
promises. He's joking.
What?
Fucking
brain farts there for a second. What?
If Strix had $39,000, I'd be very, very concerned on how he came across that money.
Lend me a tenner. Come on.
He just has his secret OnlyFans. It's fun.
Is it so? Side topic here. Is it just me or does I can't remember his name, but from Home Improvement, does Mike remind you of that character, the neighbor character that never shows his face? He's always hiding behind the
yeah,
fence.
he's always
Yes.
the neighbor.
You'll never see my chin.
Never. It doesn't exist. They say the man has no chin.
Don't they show him at the very last episode of the show?
Dude, I don't fucking remember that show.
I think they do. No, whatever.
I feel like they did. I feel like they did.
Yeah.
Hey, remember that one time we talked about Ashes of Creation?
Yes, yeah. Which I was. We're getting back there. This is what happens when you have 3 men do a podcast together that like to talk shit and joke. You know,
put 3 people in a room and they all have ADD and see what happens.
Yes.
So you did say that I was just as excited, and I definitely am, but I've been more of a significantly hands-off approach on paying attention to it because, I mean, like you said, 2016 is when it was announced, and then it had a what's it called, the crowdfunding bullshit in 2017, and I mean, like near 10 years.
It was It was actually
7 or 8
crowdfunded,
years?
I believe. It was crowdfunded before I played it. I believe the crowdfunding went up because back when we
Just
ran
Googled
CoinDrop, the website, you were the one that brought this game to attention me. You brought it to my attention.
I did bring it to your attention, but I just Googled that
Okay.
information.
Was
so
it really crowdfunded in
dates.
2017? Okay.
Yeah,
Right.
so Stephen Sharif gave the majority of the early funding with his own money.
That's what it was. Right,
And then,
that's what it was.
it was crowdfunded after the fact. But anyways, I actually haven't kept up with it too much. I've looked at I've listened to a little bit of their stuff here and there, but I say a little bit. But there was something that they showed. I want to say probably about a year ago or so, and graphically, it looked like shit. And I was like, that's kind of unfortunate because this looks like it belongs in the mid 2000s, 2010 or so. I'm like, there's something wrong with this. They swapped over to Unreal Engine 5. Why does it look like shit? And then I just kind of was like, I'll wait for it to come out. It's still in early development.
Yeah. I think that's a big part of it. Thanks for catching my flub there, Strix, and posting that for all to see. I really appreciate that. As if audio wasn't bad enough. So the one thing I'll say for the guys that are making this game, Ashes of Creation, they are really on top of communication. They do constant updates. I mean, they're really great at it. They did announce Alpha 2 coming soon. Alpha 2 they announced for 2024. They didn't exactly say when. They just said sometime next year. After doing a little bit more digging, because I found myself constantly going to the Ashes of Creation website and debating on spending an ungodly amount of money to get into Alpha, I felt a little bit better after this live stream. They basically broke it down that Alpha isn't really for somebody who wants to play the game. It's for people that want to invest in the game and help build it, basically.
They
there's
basically get to put their
responsibility.
input into the game and really help shape what it's going to be.
Yeah, to a certain extent. The team basically straight up said, we have a vision for this game. We have what we want, but people who are willing to invest in this game are going to get some level of weight put to their feedback, right? Their balance is still going to come through, and that's important, right? The people playing the game and the people who have the money to buy in at that ungodly tier level to play it and give the feedback that they want to give, they're not real developers. I mean, maybe they are on other games. I don't know. I can't say. But they're not the developers on this team, right? So ultimately the team is going to have the final say on what they do. But I'm going to just talk just kind of what's on screen here. So the footage that I pulled was from their updates to their events. For those who are unaware, what sets Ashes of Creation apart is it's on a node-based system that player interaction literally builds the world. You are responsible for building towns by your actions.
And just to give you a little bit of context on that node system, the whole world is cut up into little sections. Think of it like what's that game where they're little hexagons? I can't remember what
Yeah, I can't remember what it is, but I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah.
In any case, it's the whole world is cut up into these little nodes, as they're called. And as Russ was saying, if you spend time in that node, whatever you're doing is going to help that node level up. But it's based on where players are playing. So the more players hang out in this spot, the more that node levels up. And things happen based on your interactions with it. And so every server is going to be different from the next. And like he said, if this settlement starts in this node versus that node over there, literally the world is going to develop differently. From the city would look different, and the enemies around it are going to be different. But it's also going to be dependent on how you interact with those enemies. What are they going to do? How are they going to react? And it just sounds phenomenal, really.
And this is why this development's been going so long. Mike, go ahead.
Yeah.
It kind of reminds me of Vampire. I don't know if you remember.
Yeah. Don't Nod.
When it came out by Don't Nod and Focus Entertainment. If you go into a section, like a different part of the city or whatever, and you decide to kill everybody because it's the quickest way to gain more power and be a stronger, dickhead, basically. But if you do that, and then you go and rest until the next evening, it'll give you a review of all the actions that happened after you did that, and the level of the city will go from neutral or safe down to unsafe, and then I think the next one after that is danger, and then after that is completely uninhabitable because all of the civilization that's left in that city is dead. It's all just monsters and other vampires now.
Yeah, I can
Actually
see
kind of
where
cool.
they might have drawn some inspiration from that for this. This goes way further than that, to the point where like I don't know if they're still planning on it, but they said that like depending on for like world events. So basically, let's say your nodes can be anywhere from level 0 to level 8, right? You can't
Yeah.
have all tiles be a level 8, right? Like so,
Yeah.
no 8s can touch other 8s. It's made in a way so the whole thing doesn't become a metropolis, right? On top of that, when you get to these like make or break events, so like what they're doing here is a very early one. This is probably a node that would be considered a level 0, and they're trying to save a caravan of settlers that might be trying to start like a hamlet, right? The beginnings of a town, right? So your goal here and what's happening on screen is defend the citizens and the caravan and try and keep these bandits from killing them and raiding them. What they did in the past, what they showed us in 2016, showed me in 2016, was depending on these choke points were like, and it's all story based. This is all side story stuff that like these characters have. Like this isn't just a world event the way Rift did their rifts in the game, where it's like it happens and then it's gone. These impact the world and they're there forever.
Although Rift did impact the world in really cool ways, though.
It did.
Like
they
they actually made it to where you couldn't progress your storyline if it progressed deep enough.
Yeah. Yeah. So there was all kinds of stuff that Rift did that also kind of helped pave the way for this. It just wasn't permanent, right? So they take this a step further. When you're getting to the point where, say, you've got a hamlet built and now it's under attack by orcs, depending on the races of people helping, will shape the architecture of the town as it grows. So if you have a majority of players that are playing an elf character, the architecture on its next level, when it goes from hamlet to say village, will be more elven looking.
But you also have to consider the other layer to that too. If you don't manage to defend the town, then well, that town doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah, it's
just
gone.
not there.
Yeah.
There's also going to be PvP. I don't know if they're doing PvP servers or how they're going to manage that, but there is going to be PvP to a point where, like, if you have one town and one city, and this town is getting more business than this town is going to be given an option to basically go to war as an event with that city to try and eradicate that city so it can become a city, right? Because those two tiles can't touch. You can't have two of the same tiles touching. Again, this is early stuff. This is early stuff from back years ago, so I don't know how much of this has changed, how much they've tweaked. But that was kind of what they were leaning towards. Like, player interaction builds this world. There's a lot of industry veterans that worked on stuff like EverQuest, EverQuest 2. Steven's whole goal, like, when he announced Ashes of Creation, his goal was to recapture the amazing feeling of playing your first MMO. Whatever that was. If it was WoW, if it was Terra, if it was Final Fantasy XIV, if it was EverQuest like me, if it was fucking Knights of Camelot, was that the one? The predecessor to...
Yes.
Yeah, like yes. That, like, his goal is to recapture the glory days of MMO and take it from being the stagnant genre it's been for mostly the last 15 years at least, right? There's been some innovation there with Terra and Rift like we talked about. But
those are ultimately gimmicks.
Yeah, they're ultimately still clones of WoW, which as of next year is 20 years old. WoW launched in November of 2004. So we're almost 20 years into nothing but clones of a two-decade-old model. And Ashes of Creation is trying to break that and do something unique and new. And that is personally why I'm so stoked for it. Alpha 2 is going to be the first time that players can actually play the game, though it's still in development. Understand that it's basically what Steven has said in the past is, or recently, is that it will be feature complete, not content complete. And Alpha 2 will run up until release of the game so that they continue to make tweaks. When Beta 2 and Beta 1 and Beta 2 roll out, they will be alongside Alpha 2. But we're getting closer, man. We're moving down the road.
Yeah, it's about time to make some progress on the game. But see, like, MMOs have always been about player agency, and this game takes that to a whole new level. I mean, they obviously have to script things in for when these nodes level up or level down. I don't know if they can do that. I presume they can. But,
yeah, they're just make or break points.
Yeah, so it just adds even more to that. And like I said, they have to script things in. One of the scripts that they talked about really early on that really has me like pretty interested was they basically said, what if you start like a little settlement in the mountains where you're mining the iron for the server, you know, if you level it up to a point that you might wake up a dragon that's hiding in the mountains, and if it's in the middle of the night and very few people are playing, you might wake up and your mining operation is destroyed and gone, and there's a dragon there now, and hey, now there's a world boss. But that's just a simple example. So it'd be really interesting to see how these servers are gonna play, and it almost suggests you're gonna want a character on multiple servers just so you can see how things play out. And it'll be interesting to see how they continue that, because I almost feel like your server's gonna get to a point where it's stagnant if they don't continually add new options, I guess, or things to discover in the different nodes. I don't know how to.
It's if any of this sounds familiar to you, Mike, or anybody else, years ago, back when EverQuest was still a name people knew, there was a game.
Back in my day,
there was a game that was post EverQuest 2 going to be called EverQuest Next. And a lot of those people talked about voxel-based mining system and building system.
I do remember hearing about that.
Yeah. So Steven, if I remember correctly, I could be wrong, he was either involved in the development of that, along with some of his team, or they saw that and realized that EverQuest Next was trying to do too much. So they took the idea of this node-based system, and that's where we got Ashes of Creation. So when EverQuest Next died, Ashes of Creation literally came from the ashes of EverQuest Next. He kind of took that. Now we know
that the name behind the game is from.
Well, kind of, right? Like, it's not literal, but like that's my interpretation. Is like he saw what could have been with EverQuest Next, how that could have reshaped MMOs, and Steven Sharif said, "Hold my beer, let's get to work."
Just in case you don't know, voxel based is basically Minecraft, but they were going for a more realistic, not blocky approach with EverQuest Next. And
I'd say like Astroneer and stuff like that is more
Astroneer.
It was cartoony, but it wasn't quite blocky like Minecraft was. But the idea is that everything was voxel based, so everything could be destroyed or created, and that was what made it sound pretty phenomenal. But obviously that's fallen through. It's not a thing anymore. Yeah. Although, just throw it out there was talk recently where they're like, maybe we'll make another EverQuest. So they are thinking about it.
That'd be cool. I want Ashes of Creation. I know one thing that threw a wrench in Ashes of Creation was the switch from the decision to go from UE4 to 5. I know that set things back for them a bit too, because it broke a ton of stuff they had to fix and rebuild the game. And I gotta say, with this new footage, it looks beautiful. We got some great god rays. We got some beautiful landscapes, characters models look good, animations look good. It's still very early. There's a little bit with the spiders that look a little glitchy. I don't know if you guys saw that earlier. They kind of like
if they don't act like the spiders that glitched out in Skyrim where they're like bouncing all over the place. I'm cool. I'm cool with it.
Yeah. I mean, they kind of did, but it's alpha, right? Like it's very, very early footage.
I want to go back to what Tim was saying about how at a certain point there's like a plateau of things to do per quadrant. I guess we're calling them.
Yeah.
Node.
I do want to talk about nodes. Yeah. I do want to talk about the switching to UE5, because I think 5.1 introduced blueprint based what's it called? We just talked about it with Minecraft. Yeah, no, it's
Voxels?
no, it's the way Minecraft generates. I forget what that generation method is called.
Yeah.
Oh, in chunks. In chunks.
It's perpetually. No, that's not
random generation.
Yeah, random
we'll
generation.
go with that.
Yeah.
Sure.
No, it's procedural generation.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Procedural generation. That's what it is. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So 5.1 added procedural generation, and the way it works is you have to actually create something first, and then copy it and tell the algorithm inside of the engine and say, hey, take this, paste it, but change little bits and pieces.
It's just so AI I'm wondering at that point.
Russ, we actually talked about this on an early episode. Exactly what Mike is talking about. We actually talked about exactly this.
Starfield.
They had a video
thing.
Yeah.
It's way cooler than Starfield's. But basically what Mike is saying is you create something by hand. You make this beautiful landscape, and then you can have the engine copy it but change it up enough to where it doesn't look exactly the same, and it can do it on a mass scale to make things
in real time
really freaking cool. Yeah, and in real time. And
that's
the cool thing is you can edit that too. You can take what it's been made and alter it on the spot. That way, if you're like, I don't like the way it did that, let's make it just a little bit different, or add more trees, or get rid of trees, or add more buildings, or whatever it is. It's really freaking cool, and
I remember
it's why Unreal Engine 5 sounds so freaking cool, because development is not only going to speed up, but it's going to look freaking gorgeous, and it's going to be going to be beautiful.
I imagine that's probably some of the things they took into account when they decided did they want to move from 4 to 5. Yeah. They probably looked at it and said, yes, it's going to set us back, but in the long term, it's going to be a huge leap forward because of probably tech like that. But regardless,
that's what I was thinking with the nodes and how they could procedurally generate new things.
Well, it's not really landscape that I'm worried about. I'm worried about is the scenarios that happen. Yeah. So that's going to have to be hand created, right?
There are scenario blueprints, and I do believe you can use that same AI generation tech that UE is coming with to create scenarios on the fly.
I would imagine so. I don't know what level they're going to, but I know they're not doing voxel-based building, but dude, like, this is the first MMO, probably the first game outside of, like, your standard single-player RPG, where I feel like, man, I kind of want to actually role-play my character in this game. Because you can literally just pick a career. And what I mean by that is, I wrote an article on it years ago when they announced it. You can literally just be a fucking bounty hunter. Strix, you can go do bail enforcement. You can go do bail enforcement in Ashes of Creation. You can literally just roll into a tavern in a town and be like, yo, where's your wanted posters? And then you go hunt players. Not just NPCs, but players. Yep, kidnapping people legally. Yes, bounty hunt in this game.
Red Dead Redemption players about to flock to Ashes of Creation.
This is what I'm saying, dude.
I'll take it.
It's the first MMO that I'm like, yo, I actually want to play this as my character, and like I want to participate in PvP because it sounds like trying to hunt players who are griefing other players sounds really fucking dope. You can be a politician. You can literally turn this game into Sim City, where you literally run for office to be the mayor of a town, governor of a city, and then it is literally your job to set the taxes, to set out the grid, where buildings are going to be, how much businesses are going to, like, it can be everything. And that's part of what's caused development to run so long, is, again, by Alpha 2, before beta is his words. Let me read directly so I'm not misquoting Steven, because that's the last thing I want to do. Where is it?
Don't mind me, I'm just eating my mustache. I'm trying to not do that.
All right. The game will be feature complete before beta. Direct quote from Steven Sharif. Feature complete. That means all of these systems, more or less, will be in place. Obviously, there will be tweaks, but by beta, you will be able to do these things. And that's just, it's moving to a world of MMOs that we have never even seen before, ever. And dude, I'm juiced.
Hopefully.
I'm so juiced.
I mean, the very fact that they've, after all this time, they've kept the node system in place, it does have me excited that even if they don't come out with everything they've said, it still has a high likelihood of being something extremely unique to the point that I really want to play it.
Yeah, it's going to be groundbreaking for sure, and I'm excited for when and if it actually releases. I hope it launches before 2030. Just to be honest, like, I hope it launches before 2030. It's going to be
in beta for 10 years.
Dude, it already has. It's 10 years in 3, I think, 3 or 4.
Yeah,
Jesus.
I'm gonna guess and say 2025.
I think that's feasible as development continues to ramp up, since they're going into Alpha 2 next year. I'm going to say 2026. I think they're going to hit that 10 years. 2026 or 2027. I think they're going to hit that 10-year window is what I'm thinking.
I'm going to predict and say that they're going to flip the script and go early access.
They might.
I mean, not saying that that's a bad thing, because there are a lot of early access games that are good.
Technically, they already are. You can buy into it right now.
He said, the Alpha 2 is going to be available all the way up until launch, and you can buy your way into it. So it kind of is.
Yeah.
Although early access wouldn't necessarily be the worst option for it. Early access that's been long form early access, like Baldur's Gate 3, was really good for it. So,
so all right. So here you go. For $150, you can buy access to future beta 1 testing and access to beta test 2, as well as you get 4 months of free game time when the game launches. which is $60 value. You get $50 of in-game currency. Yes, there will be microtransactions. I don't know much more than that. I imagine it's not a power creep, but there will be cosmetics. I'm 99% sure they are solely cosmetics. You get some collector's skin stuff, right? So that's $150. $75 gets you access to beta phase 2, 2 months of free game time, $25 in embers, collector's cosmetic stuff. For $375, which is their highest tier, that gets you into alpha phase 2, which starts next year. Beta test 1, beta test 2, 9 months of free game time, $125 in embers, ton of collectible stuff. And I think it said name reservation was kind of the other big one there. Some cosmetic
I have a question.
Skins. Yeah.
I'm curious if you know the answer to this or not. So a couple of years ago, like 3 or 4 years ago, when Battle Royale was becoming all the craze and everyone had to have a fucking Battle Royale mode, they brought one to this game too.
They did.
Do you know if they abandoned that? Is it still there? Well, what the hell?
So
is it just...
that was Ashes of Creation Apocalypse. And that launched, let's see, they stress test on October 19, 2018. Open beta was on December 2018. Early access was on September 24th, 2019.
It's hard to believe that testing, it was like 4 years ago that they released that. Holy shit.
Yeah. Damn. So Ashes of Creation Battle Royale testing. So that was the thing too. Is it was a test.
It was combat testing. Yeah, it was combat testing. Yeah.
It ended. So as far as I know, it's not live anymore. It ended on March 10th, 2020. So that ended.
I'm just wondering if they're going to use it at all. Is that going to be a mode in the game? Is it going to be like its own separate thing?
I don't know. I think it was just balance testing for the classes. I'm not too sure. There's one more tier in here for early access guys. I'll be honest. I'm highly debating kicking in for this. $250. Gets you access to Alpha 2, Beta 1, Beta 2, 6 months of game time, cosmetics, and $100 in embers. Personally, I'm seriously debating.
Just make sure if you do that, buy me one too.
Fuck you, dude. I am not spending $500 fucking dollars. You can go whore yourself out for that one, buddy.
Make it 600, bro. Make it 650. Let's go.
There you go.
All three of us.
Oh, God. If I had the money, I'll be honest, dude. If I had the money to do that, so we could I would.
Math better. $750.
Yeah, that would be $750. Math.
You're
better.
right. I did. Math better. It's $750, not $650.
Yeah. It's a quarter.
I'm not a math guy. I'm an audio guy. Yeah. I'm just the editor
and developer apparently because I called you that once.
Yeah.
Editor, IT guy, developer.
Yep. All three.
I'm waiting for someone to like DM me and be like, "Hey, what do you develop?" I'm like, fucking nothing."
Shit. He develops shit in his asshole.
Yeah, dude. Yep. Like I eat Taco Bell and then it comes out.
Yep. So that's Ashes of Creation. I think it's awesome. I really do. I'm very happy Alpha 2 is coming soon. When they release an actual date for Alpha 2, I'm seriously debating dropping that $250 to get access to it. Fuck you, dude.
$750.
No. Fuck off. So let's move on. We've got other topics, man. We're 30 minutes into this podcast. It's going to be a long one. I'm already paying out the ass to entertain you two. So fuck you both. Let's talk about KOTOR, because that just happened. Tim, what do we know? What's been said? What's going on with KOTOR?
So really, it's not much of an update, honestly. It was like a scare, but it's...
Yeah, it was definitely a scare.
More or less, Sony basically just deleted the existence of the KOTOR remake. They made the videos private on YouTube and deleted all mentions on Twitter and or X and all these other things. It just disappeared, and everyone's like, "The fuck!" And it looked like it was a cancellation. But the thing is as I told you guys this when that happened, is that's not how games are canceled. They don't just delete its existence from the internet.
I mean, you're not wrong.
And so I was like, hold on a minute. Maybe they're going to re-announce it and re-reveal it and show something new or something like that. And it turns out it's a lot more mundane than that. Basically, the music rights to the game expired and Sony had to get rid of the existence of it because they didn't have the rights to the music anymore. Which is weird because maybe I guess it would have to have been Asper Media or Focus Home or whoever it is that's making it. I can't remember.
Yeah.
Maybe they lost the rights to it, and therefore Sony had to remove. Because I imagine if it was a multi-platform game and it was on Xbox and whatnot, they would have had to remove it as well. But it doesn't matter. Anyways, they've confirmed it's still happening. But I really want to know the publisher, because the publisher actually has been recently, like this week, it's just had a massive layoff.
Embracer Group. It was the Embracer Group.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the last update we had was like it was stuck in development hell.
Yeah, so Embracer actually just fired quite a few hundred people recently, but they also just they're trying to sell someone. I can't remember which development studio, but they either sold or shut down a studio, and they've said that they're interested in potentially getting rid of some of the studios and stuff they've bought. So it seems like aren't managing their studios very well.
Yeah, it was the studio for the Saints Row reboot.
Well, that was, not I think they were game. So yeah. I'm not terribly surprised on that one. But they, like I said, they're willing to. I'm trying to remember their terminology that they used, but they said, I'm gonna look it up. Basically, they're willing to sell studios they have.
Yeah.
And we really don't know anything about this game. Development hell, again, it's the fact that it was announced, what was it, like 3 years ago now? Something like that? And we haven't and we haven't seen anything, literally anything since then. It does suggest development hell, or it just suggests that they pulled a Microsoft and said, hey, look at these games we're gonna make one day.
Maybe it too will launch in 2027.
Yeah, I mean, actually, that was that an Elder Scrolls dig?
No. That was an Ashes of Creation dig.
Gotcha. I mean, the reason I ask
is, real, Elder Scrolls 6 isn't coming until 2077. Like it's going to be cyberpunky. It's going to release. Yeah.
This is true. So who knows? Maybe it was just announced way too early. I don't know. Yeah. My hope is that we're going to see it soon. The fact that we really only have I think it's something like 7 or so games that we know of that Sony is working on, and that's not even just Sony. That's just games that are coming exclusively to the PlayStation. We've got Final Fantasy, we've got Helldivers, we've got Wolverine.
I'm still waiting for Tenchu.
we've got the Last of Us and Horizon multiplayer, and then a couple of VR games. Like those first two before the VR games, we know they're being made, and that's it. So they've got so much to show, and I guarantee you they have a whole bunch of third-party exclusives, because that's pretty much how they've dominated this gen, is third-party exclusives. So I hope this is one that they show soon. We'll see.
Yeah, I just
really not much to say.
My only other thoughts on it, man, are just if they killed the people that were doing the remake, the fan-made remake, only to take the reins and then shut it down, I will be the embodiment of rage.
That's very Rockstar Games of them.
I will be the embodiment of rage, because dude, what those guys were working on looked so damn good, and for them to be like, no, we got to shut you down because we want to do it. Oh, you know what? Never mind. We're not going to do it. Would just be par for the course, I guess.
I want to take back my Rockstar Games comment and switch it to Activision.
Yeah.
There you go.
There you go.
Yeah.
Or even Epic Games. That'd be a good one right about now.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I found what I was looking for. Embracer Group said that they're open to divesting studios, and they've confirmed that more closures are coming. So
if they bought a whole bunch of bro. If they
bought a whole bunch of the industry. that video, have you seen that video where the kid he's playing something and gets scared and punches his computer?
Yeah.
Like I can see that thing.
Yeah, except for it won't be scared, it'll be absolute rage, and my hand will just like fucking One Punch Man straight through the center of my screen. I'll be wearing it as a bracelet.
Yeah, the CEO of Embracer, his quote is, ultimately we are making decisions to either restructure or downsize some teams, and there will be a few cases of closures. It's difficult and it takes time, but we announced this in June, and now we're at the end of September, and we're confident to deliver on the targets we set for the end of the fiscal year. So whatever the hell most of that means, other than they're going to shut down studios or fire some people.
Yeah.
It also sounds like to me that they're planning to, because it says downsize teams.
Yeah.
So does that mean fire teams and then close studios, or merge them into other development studios, close down these smaller ones to reinforce some of the other ones that show more promise?
It's a good question.
I mean, it sounds to me like sounds to me like the suggestion is kind of what Call of Duty and Blizzard have done. Activision has done with Blizzard and them, where they basically everyone's a support group for Call of Duty. Like that's all they do now. And I would hate to see that be the case, but honestly, I don't know what Embracer owns that's like that big. I mean, hell, just recently they actually stated that they're looking at the idea of selling Gearbox, which is weird to me because they make really solid games, like Borderlands, for that matter.
I think Embracer is in the top 5 companies that owns various different studios, kind of like Take-Two owns like fucking anything that they have put their hands in. Yeah.
I mean, just to name a couple of games that have been made by people that Embracer owns, because I just Googled it real quick. People make Little Nightmares 2, Goat Simulator, Destroy All Humans, Time Splitters, Time Cop, Darksiders, Saints Row, Duke Nukem, Borderlands, Valheim, Killing Floor, Deus Ex, and Tomb Raider. They own basically the teams that make those games.
Yeah.
So,
interesting.
Obviously, they probably own more than that, but that's just what I could find on cursory Google.
The highlight.
Yeah, so I mean, bottom line is I got scared. I got really angry. And I was very happy that Sony reconfirmed that it wasn't anything terrible. I guess I didn't say that the game's canceled, so at least there's that.
Yeah, they're actively refusing to say that it's canceled, so hopefully that means that it's not.
Yes, I hope so. But that's not all for KOTOR. Mike, you've got some news for us on its sequel. What do we got, buddy?
Yeah, apparently, KOTOR 2 for the Nintendo Switch released last year.
Yep.
There was initially promise for the restored content DLC, which is all of the original Xbox era content being ported to the Switch version of the game. And when people pestered them, which I imagine probably took weeks or months of their time, when it was coming, all they said was it was coming soon. And then later, looks like they were confirming that it was supposed to come out in Q3 of 2022, which clearly didn't fucking happen.
Considering we're in almost Q3 of, we are in Q3 of 2024 or 2023.
Yep. So, obviously they canceled plans for the DLC. Entirely. They actually announced it at the beginning of this year that they are completely canceling plans for the DLC. And instead gave all of the players on Switch that had pre-ordered and backed the DLC the option to pick a free Star Wars game from a list of titles. Just a couple. This isn't the whole list. Star Wars Republic Commando, The Force Unleashed, and another copy of Knights of the Old Republic 2 for the PC via Steam redemption.
Weird.
Mentions of the DLC were also removed from the game's Nintendo eShop store page in its initial announcement trailer. That obviously pissed off a bunch of people, and now there's a class action lawsuit against them. I don't know how far it's going to get, but it was announced on July 8th in, I think it's in California, which that also is very surprising.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things where they're offering you the option to basically get a new game as a refund. So I maybe they'll find the right judge if they're lucky, but from what I've seen other developers do this, the lawsuits usually get thrown out because again, you're getting an option to either take a refund or redeem it for an entirely new product.
It's gonna be thrown out.
I would have to agree. If the option is on the table for a refund, it could be like no judges, in my opinion. I'm not a lawyer, I don't fucking know, but no judge is gonna look at that and be like, yeah, they did this on purpose to sell copies of the game artificially on the promise that like no judge is gonna look at that and think that. Again, not a lawyer, but like common sense would say, right? Like they didn't promise something they had no intention of delivering on, and now they're offering you a refund.
I want to point out KOTOR 2 on the Switch is $15 on the eShop. On Steam, it normally sells for $10.
All right. I mean, I would much rather just like, but again, like the crossover of people who probably have a gaming PC and have a Switch is probably pretty small.
And a gaming also, PC that can run this 35-year-old video game.
Yeah, I was just say you could probably run it on a fucking school laptop from 3 years ago.
You know what? Fair.
You can run it on cell phones from almost 10 years ago.
Yeah. To be
You're
fair,
gonna be fine.
I have played KOTOR on a Microsoft Surface, so okay, fair.
It's really not hard.
No, but at the end of the day, I don't see that class action lawsuit going far. If it does, I'll be surprised. But
I think KOTOR 2 on Steam actually got that DLC, didn't it?
Yeah, it
yeah,
well,
so
that's why they're offering the PC version.
I don't think it officially did. I think somebody modded and brought it back, like dug into the files and brought it back and restored it, if I remember correctly.
So, and I'm not saying that this is an excuse for you to like, pull yourself up by your bootstraps and take that ass fucking, but
damn.
If your option is to take the Steam redemption, it's you're up $5 or whatever, plus they have the DLC.
Yeah.
So
plus
that's
mods.
all I got to say about that. Yeah.
Plus
also mods. I think this is now the 4th episode where we've talked about just mods for games.
I mean, dude, mods. That's the reason why you play PC is mods.
Yeah, that's a big part of it for sure.
Yep. That's all I got to say about that. Good luck, I guess. Enjoy your 10 cents if it ends up getting divvied up.
Yeah,
because it got somewhere.
Yeah. That's KOTOR. Let's move on to, I guess, our final topic for the night. Mike, you played some. Well, I guess you and Tim have both been playing, but I think Tim, you started over.
Yes.
Mike, you've been playing some Phantom Liberty.
Yes. So I actually did a New Game Plus. I started New Game Plus a couple of weeks back.
Okay.
Just because I wanted to fall into the DLC naturally, because there is a mission once you start getting into the Voodoo Boys missions.
Okay.
That's when the DLC kind of just falls into the storyline. So I was playing this game on a 4090 with a 5800X 3D, everything maxed out, path tracing. DLSS, I think, is set to quality, and then I also had the ray reconstruction enabled. That got me about 80 frames average with frequent dips into like 55 area. So I ended up also enabling the DLSS frame generation for DLSS 3.5, which is amazing on Cyberpunk. So in the clip for those people watching on Twitch, I was showing a little bit of the tweaked gunplay. It's a lot heavier. Pistols feel like they do more than they did before. I'm actually going with a pistol-based tank build for the clip that you see. And then, oh man, there's so much to go over with this. Honestly,
how's it?
Just Alba's part of it. Like, it's great. There's a lot more intuitive changes that I feel like they brought in as a sorry for what they removed from the base game. I'm going to be completely honest with you. The skill tree definitely feels like it has more to do with like the actual outcome of your builds and not just like fucking like scatterbrain mess of random shit that you have to go through. Now you actually, stuff is unlocked. So you get like your base at the bottom, which is like maybe anywhere from like 2 base skills to like 6 base skills, depending on the tree that you pick and start with.
Basically, what you're saying is that
the rest of the tree,
the skill trees allow you to actually really custom build a class, essentially, and you can build it the way you want your class to be built, and it's really well put together. I haven't gotten too deeply into it yet, but I can see what I'm going to be able to do and what I want to do in such a way that's like, okay, I can play any way I want to, obviously in the given parameters, but still.
Yeah. And then to unlock the rest of the tree, you actually have to use your attribute points to upgrade that skill tree. Yeah. So if you're going to go a full tank build, then obviously you're going to put the majority of your attribute points in your strength skill tree and your health skill tree. So like your strength skill tree could be at level 15, your health will be at 13, and then all of your other skill points will be like 4 and 3, and because you're not worried about that shit.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing that they added, I don't know if you remember, it comes up later in the clip. When you open up your character skill tree, that sub menu before you actually click into one of them, on the bottom there used to be just an empty space. Now that's the relic skill tree. So what you can do is you can actually, I guess the best way to explain it is overclock, quote unquote, your cyberware mods, so you can install more. So if you just want to go full fucking Atom Smasher for whatever reason, you can do that. There is a downside now. If you have too many cyberware mods equipped,
can you actually get cyber psychosis now?
Yes.
Awesome.
And it genuinely affects things. So like if you have this, if you're fully rated, like roided out on like cyberware mods, and you are just sprinting around and like punching fucking heads off of people because dismemberment has been reworked now.
Yep.
You also get cons with that. So now you have less health, or your stamina goes down, or you have longer time between doing quick hacks. Like there's actual punishment to going into these all-out builds. So you can't just easy mode the fucking game, which I think is great. Yeah. I haven't gotten to a point yet where I give myself cyber psychosis. I usually get like right on the edge of when it's supposed to start. So I think currently my skill set has a limit of like 102, and I have mine on like 101 somehow.
Hence the term edge runner, right? You're running that edge of cyber psychosis.
Yep. Aside from that, I mean, the cops have been reworked. They actually kind of, they're very reminiscent of GTA 4's cops. Like, where you have that like circle of like their visual sight.
Yeah.
And then once you leave that circle, they lose track of you. So they go to like your last known location. So if you hang around, then they can find you again.
Pretty much exactly like GTA.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it feels very much like GTA.
In a good way, obviously.
In a good way, yeah. Trying to think of the other things.
How's the voice acting with obviously the greatness that is our man here, Reed? How's he do? How's his performance? Is he Keanu Reeves level? Because I gotta be honest, Keanu did fucking great. Like Keanu killed it.
Keanu actually got a remodel. Yeah. His whole character model has been redone, and it looks so much better than it used to.
They remastered his model. Yeah,
I got to do the game again.
They remastered his model. He is back for the DLC. There's a bunch of people that I know were asking, on like Reddit and their CD Projekt Red's Discord. Keanu Reeves is back. He has a bunch of new lines. I don't know. I haven't gone back to see if he has new lines in the story yet, but I know that he has new lines for the DLC. Obviously,
there is another ending in the base game, so it would make sense.
Oh, they've added.
So yeah,
I guess that makes sense because of the DLC.
They've added another handful of endings now with the DLC, and depending how you like traverse through the choices and questions and things like that.
They made a jump to. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Just a quick little thing, Russ. And this is for everybody that's listening as well. If you do want to play the game again because you've played it before, CD Projekt Red has actually suggested you start over simply because of all of the changes made to the game. It's going to allow you to actually make more of an effect on the ending of the game.
Yeah, that was kind of my thought. Is I don't think I'd do the new game plus. I would probably just completely re-roll and start over. They made a jump from Red Engine to UE5 for this, right? Like they completely
it's still in Red Engine.
No, it's still
UE5 is going to be the sequel.
They as a developer have moved over to Unreal Engine 5, but not
got it. Okay. Yeah. I couldn't remember if they rebuilt it in UE5 or if that was okay. So how did Idris do?
His voice acting is really good. I will say there's a noticeable drop in his the like warmer tones to his voice. Like if you go and watch some of his movies or his Netflix show that I can't remember the name of, where he was a detective, he has this very specific. Yeah, it's gonna bother me now too.
Lupin.
Lupin. So he has a very specific tone to his mannerisms that's not here. But at the same time, I feel like it kind of fits because this is a completely different character for him.
Sure.
if that makes sense.
So it's intentional then.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there's a lot of lore that they kind of summarize over in the beginning. When you meet him, he talks about being a bouncer at like some club or something like that, and then your character kind of makes fun of him. He's like, "Oh, you're a bouncer, huh?" And he's like, "Well, yeah, because fucking ex-police officers and ex-military. That's the most common thing that they do is bounce at clubs." So it's kind of just like a quick like nod to like this is still a thing where people have like real lives.
Fun little fact about the game, just for those listening. Tell Idris's character that you want to do his mission, because if you don't, you actually lock yourself out of the DLC storyline.
You have to completely reload an older save.
Yes, they basically early on you get the choice. He says, "Hey, you want to join me?" You can say no, and then a couple of missions later, they'll ask you again, and if you decide to say no, I made my decision, I'm not joining. The DLC will play without you, and they'll just kind of let you know later on how the mission went, but you then don't get to play the storyline.
Yeah,
so
that's amazing.
Don't say no.
Say no once, then say yes.
There you
go. So in the clip that's playing right now, I tried to make it spoiler free, but I wanted to touch on something that's actually happening right now. So this is a mission
not much
that's
audio,
like,
so like we're talking over it. People are just kind of.
It's a mission that happens later on in the DLC. So it's supposed to be like the president or something goes back to Washington, and you and Idris are tasked with finding someone. They double down on the Netrunner thing, like we mentioned previously, but now they also go in to explain the Black Wall. So in the base game, when you
hold on,
start
before you finish, is that going to be a spoiler for like
me?
Tim hasn't beaten it, if I'm not mistaken.
No,
right?
When you say I say I haven't beaten it
either,
but when he says I haven't beaten it, I have gotten to, let's see. I think on the PC version that I'm now playing, because I bought it again for PC so I can play it on my Steam Deck, I think I've now farther along than I was ever on the PlayStation 5. And I literally just got... I met Judy, I got my... whatever the hell you call it, brain dance, and that's about as far as I've gotten. So I'm way early.
So like I know what the Black Wall is. He doesn't. Just let's keep it as spoiler. Let's keep it as spoiler free as possible, because there are other people that probably haven't played it too. So
so I'll skip over the specifics of it, but at some point they give you just like a rough sum of like the Black Wall is this thing where like rogue AI are behind the Black Wall, and that's it. That's all they tell you about it. And then you're just kind of like, okay, cool, and you go back to the main thing. In the DLC, they actually dive deeper into that. So now you actually have like perks and stuff that you can find for your cyberware that are Black Wall connected, quote unquote.
Whoa.
So you're basically interfacing with this rogue side of said Black Wall on the net. Again, it's a pros and cons situation. It's you have access to all these like insanely high, powerful grade hacks that you can do. But at the same time, the more you use them, the more it punishes you over time. And they're timed punishments. So it's not like you use it once and fucking your health is destroyed. It's like actual timing. Like it counts down, if that makes sense. Like there's a cooldown.
It's a status effect that affects you for X amount of time.
Yeah. Aside from that, a lot of the melee has also been reworked. They've added a bunch of new melee weapons.
Yeah, I remember seeing the announcement trailer, and I got to be honest, I don't know what build you guys are playing. I'm going to ask you that in a second. I'm curious what Tim you're playing and what Mike you're playing. Me, I am full on when I start this game again. I am going fucking nomad fisticuffs, man. I'm going to be brawler, breaking bones, tearing limbs off. I'm not touching weapons. I am the weapon.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
you'll actually like that because if you
stuff now too.
Yeah, well, they've had katanas,
they had them.
They've reworked a ton of that stuff.
Yeah, so now you can actually like in the trailer, if you have like a blunt weapon, like a hammer or something, and you launch off a bike into some little group of enemies, you can actually do an aerial dive with the hammer, and it creates a shockwave effect. Like the guy that you hit, his skull is gone, but then everyone around him is like also on their ass because they just got shockwaves.
Yeah, it's fucking amazing. I can't wait to play a melee build. Tim, what are you playing? What's kind of your route you're gonna go? I guess.
So I'm not really far enough in to say which route I'm taking, but I do like. I'm trying to remember what.
Are you playing Nomad, Corpo, or Street Rat?
I chose Corpo.
Okay.
I thought the idea would be interesting that because I from what I've played before, I don't think I chose Corpo the first time, but from what I had played, it seemed like Corpo was a good way to start, so I can sort of have an in and understand a lot of the shit that's going on. I don't know, because I've noticed that I have a Corpo response that I can be like, oh yeah, I know what's going on because I used to be this. That's what my character's done anyways.
Okay.
There's a lot more lore access to Corpo stuff.
Yeah, and so I'm trying to remember what the skill tree, when you look at it now, I don't know what it used to be, but there's like 5 different skills. Like he was like Mike was mentioning earlier. It's the one on the top right. There's 3 at the top, 2 in the bottom, if I remember correctly. It's the one that's the right side. And when I was reading the description, it's the one where basically I'm smarter. I have the ability to be like, I'm smarter than you, and I can outsmart people when it comes to communication and stuff. I'm kind of going.
So you're going like a net runner kind of build then.
Yeah, it seems like it, I guess.
Nice. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Mike, what are you doing? What's your background? What you running?
I'm going Nomad again. The first playthrough I did Nomad. Second playthrough I did Corpo.
You should have gone
this
Street
is my
Kid.
Third. Now I'm doing Nomad again.
Should have gone Street Kid.
There's so many good things that pop up as a Nomad when you're talking to certain people. You get a little more lore behind the character. At some point, I think you end up meeting like another Nomad from another family in the DLC, and he like also sold out his family or something like that.
Okay.
It's like a whole thing. It's like a side, not really important to the story. It was just kind of like, this is about me. And that was it. But it was neat that because I was a Nomad, I got to learn that about that dude. You know,
what do you what's your tree? What are you speccing into?
I'm gonna go. I have a lot of my attribute points into both charisma and strength, and then I think my net, like my hacking skills, I think are like 2 points lower than my strength, because I'm definitely, like I said, I'm trying to run pistols as often as I can, but every now and again I'll get bored and just pull out the gorilla fists and just start punching the shit out of everybody. I do want to get those fully like maxed out, because at some point I think you actually start dismembering people when you punch them hard enough.
Yeah.
Like you can punch a guy in the head and his head will literally just explode.
I want it.
So that's something I'm trying to work towards.
Man, being as early into the game as I am, I feel like there's a ridiculous amount of depth to everything.
Yes.
To where, like, I feel like there's going to be a lot of mechanics and systems in the game that I either just don't use or don't understand, because there's so many other things that I'm trying to understand, and I'm going to miss out on stuff. But I guess that's why you play it multiple times, right?
Yeah, that's why you play it through multiple times. I missed a lot of stuff as a street kid, and I'm super stoked to play the Nomad background, and like, it's obviously changed significantly from when I played last. Hell, I haven't played it since like before Edge Runners came out, and they retweaked all kinds of stuff from when that showed up.
Even.
Yeah. So
you
like,
probably played it before 1.3.
Yes, I played it 1.0. I think, honestly, like back when it was a glitchy mess or whatever. And
yeah, the first time I beat it was on 1.0. That was super fun.
I didn't have too many issues other than shit for frame rate, but I was also running it on a 1070, so you know. But I got to be honest, dude, I'm super stoked. I'll probably run like the only gun I'll probably use is a shotgun, and the rest of it I'm just gonna go full brawler. I'm gonna make my guy as much of a dumb monkey that solves problems with his fist as possible, like just full stupid. Basically cyberpunk version of a barbarian. I'm just putting myself in the game.
You'll love the gorilla arms cyber mod then.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
So cool,
there is some other things they did add. There's more side gigs now. So like
nice.
There's this one that you can like repo cars for some dude, and you're like part of this underground car thief ring now.
Hell yeah.
Which I think is super neat, because they added that racing stuff to the base game back in like 1.0, 1.2 or something like that, where one of the people from that bar that I can't remember the name of, you go with Jackie to meet Rogue. Afterlife, yeah.
Come on, bro.
The
How do you not remember
there,
the morgue?
The bartender there has a side gig for street racing that you can do, which unlocks basically right when you meet her. And then they never really went anywhere with it after that. So it's nice to see them go, let's do more car stuff and create this entire fucking underground ring of just like stealing shit.
So I have a question about that. So since I've not played the game before 2.0, not really anyways, I noticed that you can essentially be a cop. You can help cops out and fight crime. Is that something that was in the game beforehand, or
it was? Kind of. It wasn't super fleshed out. I will say it's not super complicated now, but it's definitely better than it was before. So if you are traveling through the world, there's predetermined points where an activity will pop up, and it's just like the cops are fighting these like gang members under the overpass or some shit like that. You can take out the gang members and it will give you an XP reward. I don't know if it gives you a cash reward, even though I'm pretty sure that there is a bounty system. I haven't figured out or paid enough attention really. They also added more of those cyber psychosis missions where there's just a random person that's just
going
fucked
nuts.
up.
Yeah, I tried to stop someone early in the game, and they kicked my ass. I died like 5 or 6 times. I died 5 or 6 times, and I was like, nope, done with this.
They're fucking mean. There's also the detective you can do like side work for. I remember one of the first missions I did for her, I was supposed to go help this guy, and I completely fucked it up, and he killed himself. And she's like, "You botched this job," and that was like literally how the mission ended. I was like, well, nice. That sucks.
Yeah. So one of the things I've heard about the game, because again I'm new to it, my understanding before the game ever came out, when the way they were talking about it, is these. I guess the side missions are called gigs. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay, so
gigs.
the side missions were supposed to be super deep, like they were in Witcher 3, but like even more so. They're supposed to have even more effect on the actual storyline and everything else. But what I've read and what a lot of people have been saying on Twitter is that the gigs in Phantom Liberty are significantly better than they were in the base game.
I believe
absolutely.
I believe that.
Yeah, I've heard
the base game were literally
a ton of death.
Yeah, they didn't really impact anything outside of their main storyline. I think the only thing I can remember them impacting is like when you did something, like for example, at some point you do a mission set for, I think it's the mayor of the city, and like when you're driving around, you will hear like updates of stuff that's going on that you've been involved in as like newscast stuff. But like that's the most I can remember gigs kind of involving themselves.
There's also
of
like
main story.
There's also other parts of the main story that you can. So the whole part of the base game's main story is to figure out a way to remove the relic or whatever. Mm-hmm. If you just keep brute forcing your way through the main story with the Takemura or whatever, and you completely skip over like other stories like the Panam side of things, and then you skip over the Voodoo Boys, and you just keep going, you get one outcome at the end. That's it.
Yeah, you don't have a whole lot of choice.
If you stop following Takemura and you go do Panam's story and complete that storyline, you now have 2 outcomes at the end of the game. Yeah. If you do that and then also go and complete the Voodoo storyline, you now have 3 outcomes at the end of the game.
There's like 9 endings, I think, total.
Yeah. So
they're all actually different. Like they are all legitimately different.
Yeah. And these missions with Panam and the Voodoo Boys and stuff like that aren't necessarily main missions. They're just other ways to get to the end point, if that makes sense. They're not labeled as gigs, but they're also not labeled as main story missions. I don't think. They might be now.
They're not main story, but they might as well be.
The way I like to think of it is for our Always Sunny fans out there, it's a reverse funnel system. So anyways, the way I like to think about it is like when you start the game, you have 1,000 options, so to speak. And your choices kind of cut that tree down, right? So like Mike was saying, if you just push main story, those branches start to fall off because you haven't done some of that stuff. They're not gigs so much as they are like, I think they actually even classified them different because you had like gigs and you had like side missions and then you had main
side
stories.
Jobs. I think they labeled them.
Jobs.
Yeah.
So like, you could literally like, I think by the time I got to it, I was able to get like 4 or 5 endings because I had done kind of all of the side stories.
That's what I did too.
And I was able to just kind of reload and be like, oh, I wonder what happens if I do this. I even got the secret ending, which honestly was my favorite. But yeah, there's a ton of different
spoilers,
endings.
Russ.
There's a secret ending. I didn't say what it was. I just said there was a secret one, and I'm a dark person, so it was kind of my favorite.
Yeah, so addressing the gig expansion thing with the DLC, there is more gigs for sure, but now they're also their own storyline. So it's not just like you go do this one gig for this one guy because he wants you to retrieve an item and then that's it. It's like it's a consecutive thing now where it's like the same guy will contact you for different retrievals for different things, and then as you do that, you'll also learn more about the person that you're working with.
So they actually did expand upon the Witcher style side missions, because the Witcher did the same thing. You did one mission and then it just kind of leapfrogged in the next and the next, and it actually had a lot of depth and made the world feel real. Basically.
There's a couple of those. There's a couple of those in the base game. The Delphi. What's the car? The name of the car? That one gets pretty wild. There's an AI, the AI
taxi
car
thing.
Yeah, the taxi that you take to go do the job to get the relic. He has a storyline. I think it was like Delphi or something like that. They call him D. I can't remember. But like he has a storyline that flowers out. Delamain, that's what it was. It gets pretty wild. So there are a couple of them in the base, but it's not a lot of them. The way it sounds like it is in the expansion. Big question, Mike.
Mm-hmm.
Is Ciri in it?
No.
The fuck? Why?
Ciri's done. I guess at this point she's considered a rogue AI, so she's beyond the black wall.
Oh, okay. Ciri's a rogue AI. Got it.
Ciri sucks anyway, so whatever.
I mean,
it's been
you're aware that I'm talking
about that her AI.
You're aware that I'm talking about Ciri from The Witcher, right? Like, Ciri.
No, I didn't.
Yeah,
that would be cool if she was in it. I mean, I'm honestly kind of surprised they didn't have like just some random ass NPC just chilling somewhere. That was her.
She's, per the lore of The Witcher, she's kind of supposed to be in Cyberpunk 2077.
So I think.
So I don't know if
I think she is, but she's more of just like a passerby NPC, not necessarily.
Right, that's what I'm asking. Has she been found and located? Because when this game launched, they had planned to put her in there, and then fans were super pissed about it. So Tim, I don't know if you know a whole lot about this. This is for The Witcher 3. This is a spoiler. So if you're listening and you haven't played through Witcher 3, or it hasn't already been spoiled for you, here you go. Ciri, at a certain point in Witcher 3, talks to Geralt about traveling through time. Mm-hmm. And she has a conversation with Geralt where she says, "You wouldn't believe me even if I told you." And he's like, "You have the option to say, well, fucking try me." And she literally says they drive horseless carriages and shoot each other with magic weapons that do not need bolts or crossbows or like a projectile.
I've actually just pulled up this conversation, and the funny thing is she has Judy's haircut, not color, but she has Judy's haircut, and she's wearing a very cyberpunk jacket.
That exactly. Yeah. Yes. That's exactly what I'm talking about. So that's why I'm like, is she in it? Where is she? Because she was supposed to be, and then people got really pissed off because I don't know if a lot of people missed that. They didn't know about it. They hadn't played enough of The Witcher 3 to find that part. But yeah, like that's an actual conversation that exists in the game. So in Witcher 3, she canonically came to Night City.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be honest with you, when you said Siri, I thought you also meant Siri, the iPhone thing.
I figured you did when I asked, because both of you were like, no, and I was just like, that. It's not. They're not getting it.
Apparently, according to CDPR, she will not make a cameo in the game, which is really dumb.
That is really dumb. That's really a shame.
Yeah.
They, what they did do though is add Witcher 3 like clothes
you can get that was like a
stuff.
Pre-order bonus or something, wasn't it? Or
so
some
now
kind of rewards.
With the DLC they actually added some new ones.
Okay,
they honestly, from what I've been able to find of them, they just look like reskins. But the silver sword now I think looks a lot cooler than it did in the base game. Now it has like glowing effects and shit like that. Yeah. Now it has like glowing effects and shit that get like built up as you like use it. Not necessarily like kill, just like as you swing your sword around, they'll like glow. Gotcha. So that's pretty cool.
Well, we are an hour 14 into this. I think we should probably wrap this up here. Mike, thanks for sharing with us. Tim, you guys got any final thoughts on anything tonight before we move over to our Patreon exclusive side?
Honestly, I've just been enjoying Cyberpunk. I've been meaning to play it since it came out, and I'm finally able to play it. And what's even crazier is I'm playing on the Steam Deck, and the game runs really freaking smooth. It actually has a
Yeah.
Steam Deck graphics setting on it.
Yeah.
And while I know I'm not getting the full graphics feature set on the Steam Deck, it still looks freaking pretty.
That's all
So
that
I
matters.
mean, just the fact that this game can run on a handheld is pretty damn impressive. And so far,
Yeah.
the game's been really, really well put together. I'm actually struck by the voice acting. The voice acting is freaking good in this game.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. It's really solid. Mike, you got anything for us?
Yeah. I will say, and I'm going to be doing it myself as well, with this new DLC, they've added so much shit to find, secrets and side things and things like that. New items, new canonical, however you say that, a bunch of new shit. So if you get this DLC and play it through once, play it through 4 more times. I'm not even kidding. Play it through 4 more times. Once you start to get into those replays, definitely like slow down because you already know what's going to happen at the end of the game. Take the time to comb through, and you're going to find so many neat little intricate things that you've missed the last time you played. I know for me, there was like weapons and shit that I just strolled past during the main quest line that ended up being like super fucking great towards the end game.
Wow.
This playthrough around. So I like it's shit like that you just need to pay attention to.
Yeah.
Just consider it like Skyrim in the sense of the more you play it, the more you find, because there's just so much depth to the game. And
it's
actually
huge. Absolutely.
It gives me, I mean, I've noticed, like, I'm just looking around for random shit because I've noticed I've stumbled upon things, even if it's all small. Yeah. And so I'm hoping that, it'll continue to bring me back in the game.
And definitely do the side gigs. For sure, do the side gigs because they change the outcome of the game. So do them.
Cool. Well, that's going to wrap it up for us, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in tonight on your drive, wherever you're at. Make sure you drop us a like. Let us know if you like the show. Give us a 5-star rating, all that self-plug bullshit. And we do have a Patreon. It's $3 a month, and you get an extra 15 minutes at least. Last week, you got to hear me screen shop on VR stuff because I got a little sidetracked and maybe a little alcohol in my system. This week will be a much better episode for our patron. But tell your friends, tell your mama I said hi, and that's a wrap.